581. La 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 la. Pew, 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 pew. Come on. Reroute. Thank you. Sharing the link now. Why, hello. How I literally forgot how to intro our own show. Like, my brain went, what do we say after that?
Welcome.
That's right. Why, hello, and welcome to issue 581 of Geek in the City Radio. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Spinarita.
And I'm your other host, Cable Hashtani.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And we have a special guest with us, streaming live from her couch, freshly showered.
Yes, you're so welcome. I know you don't want to smell me after a day of moving. I'm Carolyn. I am your trainer of 4 years.
So Carolyn Gallagher of Fresh Fit Fitness. And the reason Carolyn is here today versus any other trainer we might have found is because Carolyn and I have been working together for a little over 4 years now. So if you ever see me drunkenly talk about my buffness, that is thanks to this wonderful woman right here. And she's also just like a really wonderful friend.
Yes, we have a good friendship as well as all the things. I love it.
Yeah. So this trainer slash bodybuilder is going to talk to us today about how to try and maintain health and fitness while we continue to just stay holed away in our homes forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Yes.
The hardest struggle ever right now, really. Where do you want me to start?
Well, why don't you
there's
tell
not
us...
much, but there's.
Well, actually, let's start with a little background on you for everyone who hasn't already known you for 4 years. It's like, how did you get into, bodybuilding and become a trainer and all of that?
Shoot, it starts a long time ago. I got transferred up to BC for my old job. I was in retail for about 15 years, and all I did was work out and go to work. And I got 6 months to do a job. I did it in 3 and got really bored. And when I was looking for a men's manager one day, I found an ad for a general manager for a gym. So I was like, ooh, and I applied. Within 7 days. I had the job. Found out that managing a gym is horrible and it's sales and it's sketchy and awful and I never want to do it again. But I was the number one seller of personal training in the company because I stand behind personal training. I had an amazing trainer starting when I was 26, changing lives and building confidence. And it literally got me out of an abusive relationship of 6 years with my son's father. So I stand behind it on every level of training. So once I hated managing, I got my PT cert. I started working out at my best friend's inside her house little home gym. And then I came here and started my own business. And we've been going, well, thanks to COVID, we're not going as strong as we were, but going it's been 5 years I've been back in the States doing what I do. I pride myself on choosing my clients and not having them choose me, and picking people that want to be educated, have realistic goals. They want to build confidence. They want to walk into a gym and do everything properly. So it is truly my passion. And bodybuilding came with, I lift really heavy shit and it's really fun, but I was bored. So the next challenge for me, who loves to eat and drink beer, was to be a bodybuilder, you have to lose your weight. So I was like, that's the mental challenge of getting on stage. And the last time I was on stage, my son was 6 months old and I got 4th because I was too big for bodybuilding. But it was an amazing experience. Being able to hold a 6-month-old and have like a ribbon around my neck was pretty rad. But now I'm at a point where that's all consuming. It is all consuming and takes 24 hours of your day to be on a stage. So now I just I'm back to lifting heavy things when COVID doesn't let me lift, when COVID lets me lift heavy things. But I still have my amazing clients. Y'all have been rolling with me 4 or 5 years, you guys, for like a chunk of you. So I love it. And everyone is my friend. 3 of my other clients were at my son's last birthday party. So
that's cool.
It's like the relationships I have gotten from this business is incredible. So you guys keep me as sane as I keep you.
That's for sure one of the things that has really impressed me about your work over the years is like you, and I know that this isn't necessarily true for all of your clients, but I came to you sort of just by chance. I signed up at a gym and that turned out to be a total nightmare for you, a little bit of a nightmare for me. Listeners might recall that conversation from about 4.5 years ago.
Oh yeah, that place was put on pretty hardcore blast when
that
episode dropped.
Yep.
And we don't necessarily need to talk about them at this point, but I just happened to get paired up with you because I agreed to like so many trainer sessions. And then when your time came to leave, I didn't want to do it without you. You were the thing that was motivating me to do the work that I had not been capable of doing on my own as a fully fledged adult who should be able to, have the willpower, or even when I was in the military and it was a force on me. I was not achieving the fitness goals that I'd had with you. And it's your community building and your nature, like you're just like your friendliness, but you're also like very real. So it's nice. That's a hard thing to find, and it's important to be with your people when you're trying to do something that is a challenge to begin with.
Definitely. And part of my working for myself is not working for a big box gym because A, you're paying twice what I charge and I am not getting it. The gym is getting it. But B, the stress on you being a number. Like, what did you buy this month? What were your product sales of? Like, did I sell you supplements? Like, my people will never be a number to me. My people are my people. They have names, they have personalities, they know each other. I had that sick ass barbecue. Did you get to the Crush It barbecue last year? Yeah. So like, I truly cared. There was piñatas and amazingness. But
I missed
like
that
you
one.
guys are. Oh,
I was thinking of the year before because last year's that I missed was the piñatas full of mini booze bottles
and some edibles and some smokable things. Like there was a kid piñata, and then the adult piñata was far more entertaining because like craziness of grown humans scrounging for things on the ground. It was, if you've never had an adult piñata, do it at any party ever. But like, yeah, my people are so different, but so amazing. And I care about each and every one of them. And over the years, they've all gotten to know each other also, as me being the common thread. So when you're not doing it to make money, you build relationships, but you also get to make money. It all comes full circle when you're doing it for the right reasons. So I would never do my business any other way. So I've had people try to talk me out of it, but I will not budge.
So let's talk a little bit about COVID and lockdown. You were able to pivot pretty much right away to a virtual method rather than doing a lot of in-person sessions at I think you were seeing clients at 2 different gyms. Is that right?
During COVID?
Right before or up until
before? Up until COVID, I was only at the one gym, and then I had one person that I would train at a park just because serenity reasons. Like, that's just what she needed, and I was willing to go out on a Sunday afternoon and chill in a park. Who doesn't want to do that?
No, I know.
But it was all in one gym, pretty fluid schedule, and then COVID hit, and it was a whole nother story. So I think
talk about that. How did that sort of flesh out in the beginning?
Well, in the beginning, it was thankfully. So I had a side gig. I, like many humans, I have minor depression. I have anxiety. So when I would train clients from like 5 until 11 or 12 in the afternoon, and my son is at school until 3:30, I am not the person that's going to go home and clean the house and make dinner and do. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. And so I got a part-time job to keep myself busy. And it was only maybe 2 days a week, but it was packing for this amazing company that moves only seniors into retirement communities and things like that. So I was still getting a lot of emotional like payment from that. And so as soon as the gym shut down, the owner was literally on the phone with me that day being like, so full-time availability, what can we do to you to make sure your bills are paid? Which is why I work for this company. So I switched from my side gig became my full-time gig. My full-time gig became my side gig. But it was a kind of sketchy transition in the beginning because a lot of my clients did lose their jobs. They were cut down hours. They went through the same things I did. So it wasn't a case of, oh, you just transition it over to Zoom. I'm like, well, if they can't pay me, and some people just can't do it at home. They just don't have the want or need. Even like it took Denise months to come back to, I need your help still. Some people were on it straight away. Some people had to wait a while. Like I just got one of my clients back 2 months ago because she was like, this isn't ending and I'm eating my emotions and everyone around me's emotions. So, and it took her almost a year to be like, okay, we need to start this over again because obviously we're not going to be back in a gym anytime soon. So it's crazy, but it is with the clientele that I have, being able to have the relationship that I have. It's very loosey-goosey. Let's play with the first couple sessions. Let's get comfortable. There's no pressure. We're going to see what works. Here's the equipment that everyone else is using. Here's what I have. Let's figure this out and see what works together. And it seems to be doing okay. I'm like, Denise, you're the client.
Yeah. So I want to preface this by just like pointing out that I didn't need like however many 2 or 3 months off in any like financial or emotional sense. I'm just a lazy bitch, and I was like, we're just not going to do that for a while until I'm like, no, there's no reason for you not to be doing it. And when we started up, it was basically the stuff that I owned: a 2-pound hand weight and a yoga mat, which is nothing. But comparison to what we had been doing it, in January with real weights, and then gradually, like when funds allow, I get more equipment, or if I get lucky and snag something, just sort of adding into the routine to keep it fresh, keep it challenging, and accommodate what's available. It's worked out really well.
Yeah, I don't think you've had to do it, but one of my clients, well, there's 3 of them together, but they have a cabin and a house. And for a while, all the equipment was at the house. So when they got to the cabin, I'm like, cool, cans of soup, let's go. Water bottles, let's go. Like, we got this. Here's the firewood. Like, let's move this around and play with it. And we'll see what works and what is going to do the job for the hour that we need it to do. And then slowly, same thing. You collect what you find is necessary. Like, I dropped off 8 pounds to you, you're good. Sarah has 8 pounds, but now she wants 12, so she ordered them. It's just, you don't need to invest $500 and get all of these things. It's like, okay, this month I'm kind of bored with these, so let's move it up a bit and I'll spend $20 and get the next set. It's progressing at your own state, and like, I will hurt you with a water bottle if you want me to. So
That's cool. I know the way you're describing, like people like just start moving wood and stuff. Like that's like a Rocky IV training montage. Just go out in the woods and move that log.
It's so true. But back to like what's important for COVID and for the normal person who's probably hasn't done anything for a year. I did a blog, and I think it was April or May for Bowflex, and just the need for vitamin D and walking and fresh air, and what stopping to smell the roses will literally do for you and your body and your senses and your emotions and your anxiety and depression. And going for a walk is the start. Like, getting out there and getting some fresh air, even if it's 5 minutes, and you walk like 4 houses down today and you turn around and come back, that couple minutes is going to do so much for your mental state and your emotional state. That start there. It's not scary. It doesn't need to be intense. Just step outside. I know it sucks and it's raining sometimes, but even through the clouds, that vitamin D will change your whole outlook on a lot of things.
Cool.
We get some questions coming in from the chat. So let's start with the first half of this one is, if someone who hasn't worked out since high school, so let's say they're roughly our age, we're all about, the same bracket. What would you recommend as a good starting point for that?
Walking, like I just said, and I think you know the drill. It's starting with core strength. So, and by core, I don't mean abs. Abs are made in the kitchen. We all know this. Drop 15% body fat and you might see them. But if you do planks, let's say you do a 10-second plank. I know that face. But if you do a plank, you're using every muscle in your body. So those little baby steps of, I'm going to learn how to do a plank from this YouTube video. I'm going to learn how to do it properly. And I'm going to do 2 15-second planks this week every day. And next week, I'm going to do 2 20-second planks. You don't need to go big or go home. Everything is about baby steps that are maintainable. If you drink 3 glasses of water in a day, this week drink 4. And that's 8 ounces, which is, when you really look at it, it's those little tiny baby bottles of water in the store that are this big. Like, it's the baby guys. So
don't hide your booze, Bean. She's the one who encouraged you to go get it.
I'm not hiding it. I'm just making faces about it. I wonder how much water I drank today.
So, and
don't you have that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The one that lights up and yells at her all the time because she's not drinking water.
Oh no, I haven't had that in years. It's the technology is not where it should be, and it was more of a frustration than a magical gadget. So we're over that.
You returned that twice.
They came out with a newer model, and I was like, well, I'll try it again. No, they continue. It continues to be a flawed system.
So a basic bitch system for that is have your water bottle and label it. By 10, I'm here. By 12, I'm here. By 2, I'm here. By the end of the day, you're at this. Or there's an AM one and a PM one, and you drink 40 ounces of water in the day, even though it should be more, but baby steps. Like, keep yourself on track and be able to hold yourself accountable. And if you need to chug water at 2 because you're behind, go for it. Like, it's not scary. It's water. But your body will thank you.
That's actually a really good idea. Mostly, when I'm active at work, I forget to drink water, and that would help a lot. Thank you.
Yeah,
because it's in your face.
Yes.
Just like a cat.
Yep.
I know. I CBD'd my dog so she wouldn't be all up in here like Denise is used to. I was like, Fatty, drug her. Sorry, Fatty's my son. I was like, drug the dog. She cannot be on my lap for this.
And then the second half of that listener question, which, by the way, was posed by our listener friend Norm. The second half is, what are your thoughts on Noom, that sort of like non-diet dieting app?
I've looked into that because I've had questions from other people. It seems to be, and I haven't detailed look into this, but it seems to be a very psychological weight loss program, which I feel is way better than cutting all of, she knows me. Like, you could, I won't take you on as a client if you're like, I need to lose 10 pounds tomorrow. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not the one for you. But that stuff is unhealthy, and you can't maintain it. It doesn't last. So I think the way they program their things is very much like drinking the water, going for a 5-minute walk, and next week you will do more. It's baby steps that are maintainable, and they can like continue on this journey and build it like one step above the other. So from what I have glanced at their programs, it seems to be one of the better ones versus like, you have 4 points from Weight Watchers today and broccoli takes 3.5 of them. Like, no, broccoli is free. Like, I'm sorry, broccoli, yes, it's a carb, but it's not a bad carb. It's fiber and carbs and all of the things you need it. It shouldn't be a bad thing to have a salad. Yes, when there's cheese and a good salad. Like, but when places like eliminate things and cut things and it's very drastic, it's a yo-yo diet. You're going to do it for 2 weeks. You're going to drop 5 pounds of water weight. And then you're going to be like, I'm starving. And you're going to sit in your kitchen at 3 a.m. eating cookies. Like, it's going to happen. So.
I did Noom for about 6 months, and I've done a lot of diets, and I've yo-yoed a lot. With Noom, I actually dropped about 25 pounds, and then the pandemic hit. Wow. And in that time, I only put on about 8. I fell off the program. The one critique I'd have of Noom is it is very expensive past that trial period. and they kind of
Mm.
surprise you. But it's like
Ah,
what you said is very psychological. It gets you to look at food differently. It doesn't ever once say this is a bad food, this is a good food, because they take the approach of like none of it's good or bad. It's all in how you use it, and
100%.
yeah,
I
they're
would
pretty good with
say,
like, yes, if you are gonna eat that cheeseburger, go ahead, but like no going into it, what
You're gonna pay for it later
yeah,
in
well, and
one
it's
way
like
or another.
yeah, and they're also unlike, but if you're gonna eat it, don't beat yourself up. Don't be like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that cheeseburger. I'm such a trash human. They're like, don't be that way either. That's not gonna help. So
what I
yeah.
gleaned from what Noom is, or what I have come to understand about them, is essentially the same things that I learned about food by taking a nutrition class once. Just having the context of like what is in any given food. Why are these chips not great for you versus this bowl of fruit? And yeah, just making those smart decisions as you go. You're not always going to pick the fruit over the chips, because sometimes fruit is just fucking boring. But
And chips are delicious.
it's or
Like guacamole's a fruit.
sometimes you had too
Um,
many edibles and you just want the goddamn chips.
Mhm.
And I think with a lot of things, people put a lot of emphasis on calories in, calories out, which is 100% true. You cannot lose weight if you're consuming more calories than you're burning. It is physically impossible. I don't care if you're keto, carb free, paleo, you cut whatever out of your diet out into sugar. Like if you eat 4,000 calories of vegetables in a day and you burn 2,000 calories, you're still in a surplus of calories. So I think Noom does a decent job of like, what calories are you consuming? Because what's it doing for your body? Did you eat all the candy and now your calories are gone for the day, but you've done nothing to fuel your body? And I don't want to get in like the bodybuilder world of like, food is fuel, but it plays a role. Like what you eat, and I know a lot of people will battle me on this of what you eat calorie wise makes a difference. But if you eat McDonald's for 2,000 calories a day versus you eat clean for 2,000 calories a day, you're going to get a completely different body at the end of that process.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
giving yourself what you need versus what you want, and finding that balance of like maybe not cheat days, but even like I'm going to eat 5 meals a day. 4 of them are going to be great for me. And at 3 a.m. when I'm on edibles, I get my cheat meal. Like that's knowing your schedule, knowing your life. And then when I take on a new client, that's a thing that I do. Like what they want, if they want to look at food, some people are like, I just want to work out and do a thing. But if you're going to look at food, I want 3 or 4 days of honest food diary. So I can be like, okay, these are your habits. If you add this and cut this, you will see a difference in 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be drastic, but working with your lifestyle, your schedule. Like I worked retail for years. Lunches weren't a thing, but what could I shove in my face in a trip to the back room for something? Oh, I'm going to shove this handful of cashews versus this handful of gummy bears. Like where are your opportunities that are realistic with your lifestyle? So especially being at home all day like most of us are, what are you stocking your fridge with, and what does your snack cupboard look at versus what do your healthy snacks look at? Like if you want something salty, you can find a healthier version of something. If you want something sweet, you can find a healthier version. And sometimes, like, especially females, when you're on your period, you want the thing. Get the thing, because you're going to eat everything possible and still not be satisfied. Like, if you're craving something, my rule usually is like, if you're craving something for 2 days, get it. If you're bored, if you are wanting it because you saw a commercial, like that stuff, you're not craving it. Your head is playing games with you. But if you're like, I've been wanting pizza for 2 days now, get the pizza, get all the toppings, get the cheesy crust, do the things, and have it. Don't eat the whole thing, like split it with someone, but but do what you need to get that out of your head before you eat everything in sight to get to it.
Mhm.
But figure out what your life looks like and find the healthier pieces of like, I have shit for breakfast. I eat cinnamon toast crunch. I do this. Okay, well, how about we like switch breakfast to oatmeal? And then the rest of the day you get to play and have fun.
Yeah.
And then maybe in 6 months we switch out lunch. I don't know. Maybe we don't ever. But baby stepping it so that it's not overwhelming and you've created a new habit that isn't drastic.
Cool.
Very, very thorough answer on that. Extremely relatable content. We have another listener, Thomas, who is curious about water alternatives or like maybe additives. Like for example, I've got like Crystal Light cherry flavor in this 16-ounce glass of water. But also with the stipulation that they're doing it because they have drinking large quantities of water triggers other body issues. So there's not a ton of context there, but I did want to include that part.
I can't really answer with the body issues because I don't know what they are. But your body, so when you go from not drinking a lot of water to drinking a lot of water, your body is going to hold on to water because it needs it to transport nutrients within your body. So it needs a certain amount. So once you up your intake of water, you very quickly figure out that it expels water very quickly. But if you give it a week or so, you balance out. So if you can get through that transitional phase of, I don't drink this, now I'm peeing every 5 minutes and you're frustrated, it balances out because then your body now knows I've expelled the extra that I was holding on to in case I wasn't going to get any more. And this is a thing that my body does now. And it finds its little system of, okay, and then you find yourself, like, I know for me, I've been drinking tons of water for years. If I miss a couple like glasses of water in a day, my lips are dry, I have a headache, I feel like crap. Like the next day, I wake up feeling like crap, and I'm just like, I did not drink water yesterday. And so your body will very quickly remind you, they're like, no, we do a thing. You stopped doing the thing. Why would you do that to me? We have expectations to meet. And
You broke the deal.
Okay.
Right?
Go do the thing.
Totally. Like your body, it's the same with fats. I know everyone with like fats, they're like, oh, but like I can't eat fats. I'm like, well, your body needs fat to transport nutrients. Once you start eating them, it expels a lot. You lose fat by eating fat. It's the same with water. Like get through that first week of this sucks, and you will thank yourself forever of baby stepping that water up to the point where your body's like, yes, I function properly. I'm 97% water. Like, we can do this. So
I don't think I've ever been 97% water.
We're like 73% water. But flavored waters, as long as they're sugar-free, great. I know a lot of people like, especially pop drinkers, soda streams, sparkling water, all of those bubblies, like LaCroix, like all of those are all water. Drink them. Like if you're I need a fuzzy thing, like my best friend just got a soda stream for Christmas and she like won't stop drinking the water, which is amazing. So finding the ways that you like them. Like I have my little, I know like Denise knows, I have my watermelon aminos that I've been drinking for 10 plus years, and I have my massive jug that everyone knows me by, but I can't drink 2 liters of water in a day plain. That's awful. So make it better, but make it a sugar-free, healthy, better. So
Cool.
But liven it up. Don't make it torture. Being healthy is not torture.
Right. That was the last question, unless you're finding some anywhere else.
No, I mean, I did have a question. One of the things, again, like before all of COVID went down and stuff, like I would hit the gym and I did some I mean, I have asthma, so I always have to kind of work on my cardio because my lungs will get weak on me almost immediately if I don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I stop doing cardio for a week, I feel it really fast. But I wasn't losing a whole lot, and it was really frustrating. So like my whole life I was told, like, if you want to burn like fat, don't do a lot of like heavy weightlifting. So I avoided it. But then I was like, well, I just started doing it. I felt like I felt better about myself when I started incorporating heavier weights, doing it more often. But now that like I can't go to a gym, like I have I think 20 kilogram kettlebell at home. Like that's all I've got anymore. But I've watched videos on like a lot of kettlebell programs, and it doesn't feel right. to me, which does I don't know if that doesn't make it if that makes any sense. I just
hun-
I just
it
want
100% makes
to
sense. Yep.
do the lifting. That's what I want because it feels good also, and it's very good for my
Trust me.
I've also
Trust
found
and
out when I
believe.
was doing the heavy lifting, I was not as depressed and anxious as I usually am. Like that went away amazingly. So, what would be your advice to kind of get back on that horse with super limited resources?
Okay, so weightlifting resistance training, which could be body weight resistance, things like that, is the #1 cure for depression. Doctors don't want to tell you that in the States because we like to sell prescriptions. But if you actually do the research and you do, I will use bodybuilders as an example. If you do a backstory on bodybuilders, a lot of them started because their doctors were like, you need to go to the gym. That will help your medication get you to where you need to be, whether you are suicidal or just very depressed. It is the #1 cure for depression known to man. So yes, which is my side issue of malls are open, but I don't get to go to the gym and my depression creeps up on me and things like that. It is the #1 cure, and it does amazing things for your mental and emotional health. Getting back started is baby steps, and I will put it out to anyone listening. Like if you want to email me, I will gladly give some one-on-one tips to what you have at home and things like that, to get people on a path. 20 kilograms is a heavy kettlebell.
I had bought that when I was doing a lot of heavy lifting. Denise actually has my smaller one. So maybe I need to get the smaller one again. Like she can keep that one. I'll get another one.
It is because there's only so much you can do with a heavy kettlebell safely.
Yeah, because I went to restart it with that, and I got like 5 minutes in. I'm like, I think I'm actually hurting myself.
Yes, there's
That's
definitely
not
things you
good.
can do. There's definitely things you can do outside of a kettlebell just to get the get the serotonin levels up, break that depression piece, or if it's creeping in, kind of hold it off for a little bit. What was the first part of the question? Because I know it was
Oh, it was just
get started.
yeah, with the limited resources, like what are good ways to kind of get back on it?
Creativity. So body weighted things you can do a lot with. But then what's at your house? Do you have a propane tank for your barbecue? Do you have a couple of gallons of water? Do you have a cat that weighs too much? Do you have like what do you have that weighs more than you or more than nothing to utilize? And can you fill something with sand versus filling it with water? Like what can you do to make something heavier? And then reach out to someone like me or go onto YouTube or Instagram and just look up either body weighted exercises or at home workouts. Like get creative with, I have this limited amount of stuff. I have zero money to spend. What can I do? But there's also for $15-20 on Amazon, you can get a full, what is it? Yours is 5 bands, 4 bands?
Yep, I have the long bands with the handles that can come on and off, and that was probably only like $12, honestly. And then I also have the loop band set that's also 5 different strength levels, and that was probably $8.
So for a minimal amount of money, you can really jumpstart doing things at home. Because who knows when we're going to be allowed in the gyms again. It's a very unfortunate thing, but using the resources you have with your physical resources and then getting creative with finding things online, on YouTube, just on Google, on Instagram, on any type of site that will give you some type of instruction. I would definitely play with, like, research who it is and if they have good comments and feedback of doing things properly, because the wrong form is going to, you're not going to get the muscle development where it should be where you want it. But you also have a huge, even with a body weighted anything, you can injure yourself doing a squat incorrectly by yourself if you don't know how to do it properly. So it's really like getting a full length mirror or being able to be by a mirror and really playing with how to do things properly, doing your research, reaching out to people that you trust, and finding creative things around the house to lift and to push and to pull.
Cool.
So, and I think for a lot of people, it's the accountability. Like trainers make what we make because we are knowledgeable, but we're also sitting there tapping our toes, waiting for you to arrive, which is what a lot of people need. So where's your buddy? Like we walk together on Tuesdays. We do a Zoom workout together on Thursdays. Like it could be 20, 30 minutes, but when there's something waiting for you, you typically don't bail, Denise. Typically don't bail. Typically. But when you have someone waiting for you, and it's probably both of you in separate locations, and you have to be like, she's waiting for me, I can't go. They're waiting for me, I can't bail on them.
Better
You're
log
both
in.
thinking you're both thinking the same thing, but you both end up and you show up and you go there and you do the thing. So whatever that little piece is, it's more than you did yesterday. So
Okay, that's a cool idea, like doing that. Okay, yeah. Remember, I have homebrew equipment I can lift.
I was thinking that exact same thing.
It's like, wait a minute, I
I
have
live-
like a 3-gallon carboy that I have a strap handle to.
yes, 100%.
I'm gonna apologize because it's gonna look like I'm about to just like show off, just given the content that we're discussing. But I'm just really hot. And I'm gonna take off my sweater. But I want, but I wanted to. I just wanted to get some closing. I feel like you kind of already touched on that just from Aaron's question, but just some sort of last thoughts on how people can continue to take care of themselves right now.
I think so. I know at the beginning of this pandemic, everyone was all about, oh, we're locking down. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to do this thing over here. I'm going to read all these books. Like, no, we're trying to stay alive and we're trying to stay mentally sane. So do not go into this. And I put this in all of my social medias and all of my blogs and everything going into this. A situation like this is not a place to do better than you were doing before. It is staying sane. It is staying positive. And how do you just get through this? If you can learn a new thing, that's great, but there should be no pressure on weight loss or muscle gain. Or I've gained 15 pounds. I don't lift what I used to. The couple months I got to go to the gym, I was down for the first 4 weeks, 50% of what I was lifting when I left. It's okay. My bills are paid. There's a roof over my head. My son's good. Like, those are my priorities. I will lose the weight. I'll gain the muscle back. That is not what I'm worried about. My mental health is what I care about the most. So don't go into it as I'm going to be smaller or fitter or this. It's how can you be mentally and emotionally healthier by moving your body? So, and it comes full circle, but the focus should be mentally, how can I do this in the situation I'm in with the things I have, and how can I make sure that I'm eliminating the creeping depression or the anxiety or the mood swings or your kid breathed funny and you want to punch them in the face. Like, how do you stop that? By doing some planks in the morning and getting your blood flowing and getting in a positive headspace and not trying to be better than you were before this. Like, coming out of a pandemic smaller is a total like influencer I don't eat thing to do.
You're a psycho.
Yes, 100%. Or you have a
Largely,
home
yes.
gym.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a home gym with squat racks and cables and you're that big of a deal, then congratulations, I'm jealous. But for the normal humans, start small and just work on the mental piece of it, and the physical will come. Like, the physical piece will fall into play, but especially going into year 2 of this pandemic, how do we just make you mentally be able to handle that along with everything that else is going on in the country right now? How do we keep you sane and just baby step it? You don't need to get on a stage as soon as like the laws are lifted and we can leave the house. Like, just, oh, I learned how to plank. Awesome. High five. Good job. You're amazing. Like, they suck.
I really like what you said there. Don't try to be better than what was before, because we're not going to be there. So
no, be realistic. Be realistic and love yourself. Like, if you're alive and kicking in January and we got locked down in March, congratulations, you've done an amazing job. So if you're not looking forward to the next 6 months or whatever it takes for this to kind of roll through with vaccines and everything, and you're at the end of your rope, then how do we baby step you into being okay again?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like,
It's
yeah.
Cool. That's kind of a
fantastic.
perfect. That's kind of the perfect spot to end it. Yeah.
Judging by the comments on in YouTube, this has all been incredibly helpful to and
Yay,
Yeah.
encouraging to a lot of our listeners. So thank you.
good. Like I got on my fitness journey. I'm 37. I started when I was 26, when my son was 1, and it ebbs and flows. It goes up and down. Your weight, your strength, your attitude, your conviction towards the process changes. I will gladly reach out to anyone who wants to reach out to me and have a deeper conversation about certain things. Like, if I'm not at work, I'm at home on a couch. So I have time just like the rest of you. So I do work a full-time job 5 days a week, but I definitely have time for my people. I schedule around it. So I will answer any more personal questions if anyone wants to email me.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll make
And
sure to
then-
link all your information when the show goes up and stuff.
That'll be great.
And then I just wanted to be clear. So you're available for questions, but are you currently taking on any new clients
Sunday, Wednesday, and Fridays, I can take on clients.
for virtual sessions?
Oh, yeah, for Zoom. In the spring, and I love it if you're in the Portland area. I love going to parks and being able to socially distance and do that connective piece. I do miss, as everyone else does, I miss the physical connection you get when you train with someone. But for now, Zoom, and going into spring, I will definitely be out in parks as much as I can on those 3 days.
Cool. It's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm excited now.
You're like, go to the park. I'm like,
Park
you
sounds wonderful right now.
Yeah.
not with me, you know this. Like, you see those monkey bars over there? Go to the monkey bars.
But you know what? I
It
can
was-
either like
it was
roll
easy
around
when
on
I
the
was-
floor of my house with full of dog hair, or I could roll around with some like fresh grass and some flowers
True.
popping up, you know?
But you know
That's
me
full
when I
of,
find,
that's full of other things.
right? I'm like, when you give me a toy
ruined.
to play with, I get very excited. I'm like, this is gonna be awful. I love it. Let's do it.
Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us tonight
You're
and
so welcome. Thank you for having me.
educating our listeners and
Yeah.
let's be serious, us as well. And
I appreciate you guys having me so much.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you on Friday.
Yes, ma'am. Suited and booted.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Carolyn. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Oh, she has cool nails too.
Oh, we never talked about her nails.
Oh.
She's got the bitch in its nails, man.
I just saw like the spike. I'm like, oh, nice.
That'll be when she comes back. We
Next
can talk
time.
about nails then.
Nail talk
Mhm.
next time. Ooh, man. That was cool. That gives me a lot of stuff to think about too.
Yeah, we talk. I see her twice a week, more or less. But even I thought of things to ask or talk about that we don't normally, that I obviously hadn't brought up yet. So
Right. No, that was really cool. Thank you.
I've found that helpful since I've been thinking of the same thing. Like my gym is not something I can easily replicate at home. Since
Yeah.
Yeah.
not everyone can, replicate a climbing gym in their home.
you can't just
Oh my
climb your
God, I
building.
forgot. I forgot you used to do that.
Yeah.
You were really getting into it too.
Yeah. I should be on my second pair of shoes by now. I'm not. Womp womp.
Oh. Yeah, just go outside and start doing some parkour. Just I'm climbing this building.
I have to start baby steps, as
Oh, that's
Caroline was saying. I'm gonna have to go back to working on my core strength, doing planking, doing pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups, just to build up my arms and upper body strength for holding on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like niche set of muscles for that. Like I guarantee you, like even at like my heaviest ability to lift, I could not have climbed a rock wall.
When we can do that, I will go back to having a membership at the gym and both of you are invited to come with me anytime.
I would legit
Yay.
love to do that.
I do too. I want to do that.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I like exercise that is an activity.
Mm-hmm.
The one that tricks you into having fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you're doing a thing and it's fun. Like, haha, surprise, bitch, you're exercising.
Yeah.
That's what hooked me. As a friend from work went, "Hey, you should go do this," and I was like, still in the middle of healing up from a back injury, and I'm like, "That sounds like a horrible idea."
Yeah. It's
Like-
like when I first. It's yeah.
Let me
When I
wait.
first started the zombies run thing. I mean, it's jogging. Jogging sucks. But I was like, but you guys made it a game and a zombie story. This is awesome.
And definitely, they were going, how did we get Aaron to run? Zombies.
That's
how
what we
we
got.
do
That's
it.
what someone's got to create, though. Not the zombie thing, but like something that mixes like D&D LARPing with working out.
I mean,
There's-
LARPing is already exercise.
To a degree.
Yeah, but it's all
it
like
depends on what
phone-
you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be something. I don't know. We'll workshop that later.
I think that bouldering could be factored into that. I think one of our past guests from last year, whose name I'm blanking on at the moment, the violence designer. Who
Not
does-
Mimi. Not Mimi.
Not Mimi, but yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
I forgot her
The
name.
one locally. She would be like her type of weapon training that could be incorporated, like something from. I know there's got to be something put together at trackers that you could create a
Right.
D&D workout.
That'd be
Things
cool.
to expect when adventuring.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Where else they're able to have a workout?
Where?
Any
Is it-
Starfleet vessel, because they have gyms and holodecks.
And this is true. This is
That's
true.
right.
Or
Which
you can
was
just
it-
go jogging around the ring.
in
that
your
is
disco
true.
shirt.
I have my disco shirt. That's right. I did like that one in that season, where they literally they just turn hallways into tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Munn, by the way, is the name of that.
Thank you.
series.
Thank you.
I wasn't gonna rest until I found it. So
I knew it was a K name. I just couldn't remember what it was. So
Right.
I just
should we-
remember her profession of violence designer.
That's right. Violence designer.
Mhm.
So should we jump into talking about the last few episodes of Discovered?
yes.
So it's going to be the last 3 episodes, which were essentially Starfleet versus the Emerald Chain.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't know if we need to do like a full recap. I think we just kind of talk about, our thoughts on it and some of the questions those episodes brought up. Because if we recap it, that'll be the whole show.
Like it's pretty much discover the source of burn, deal with the Emerald Chain. There you go.
There you go.
That's it.
So I don't know, where would you want to start with in terms of like theme? I think I texted both of you 2 weeks ago. It would have been not this recent episode, but the one before it. We were ranting about how just unchecked capitalism is just like awful and ruining things.
Mhm.
And then there's that second last episode of Discovery where that's Star Trek basically saying like, Federation, you act like you don't use money, but us folks in the Emerald Chain, yeah, we've been trading with star bases that were cut off. Like, you can act like you don't need us, but whether you like it or not, you're using us.
Mhm.
And you turn that blind eye when it's convenient. So I remember what we were discussing, but I thought like, man, that seems to be like running a parallel theme within Discovery right now.
I think that's by design.
Yeah.
I
This
think-
season
Yeah,
Discovery
there's
has
definitely an overall sense of sort of what is the word? Insular insulation. You know the word I'm trying to say.
not really, not this time.
Mm-mm.
When shit like nationalism, essentially, like shit starts going weird, you shut your doors and you don't look out
Oh,
for anybody but yourself.
Xenophobia.
Xenophobia.
But not not outwardly race based. It's just like, oh, we're hunkering down and resources are limited, so we only have the resources or bandwidth to take care of ourselves. And
Isolationist.
isolationist, thank you.
I was about to use the same words again that you use. I'm like, you said that with insular. Oh no, what you mean is isolationist. Okay.
I mean, yeah, there was definitely that, and I also feel like this season of Discovery hit on two things that very much the world is going through right now. A, it really brings into light the concept of limited resources and what happens to society when that resource is removed, like violently and forcibly. It's just gone one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kind of collective emotional trauma that everyone then has to endure and try to grow from said event. You know, everyone in Discovery is dealing with traumatic issues, and they arrive in a future where, yeah, the burn was however, whatever, 180 years ago, but you've got a whole galaxy that still hasn't recovered, still hasn't faced it.
I feel like it was like closer to 100 to 120.
So, yeah, something like that. But either way, it's like it's literally like it's a ship of broken people that are relying on each other, trying to fix a broken galaxy, like an emotionally broken galaxy, which felt very poignant to know this.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that has been true of a lot of the fiction that has been produced in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Discovery is just among that, and it feels even more poignant because everything has ramped up even more in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like living in the times of COVID has made things very stark, and then each month just turns it up to 11.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
I think that the scene between Admiral Vance and Osira, Minister Osira, was probably the most telling, and showed that in the face of that much scarcity and where everyone is hurting, the Federation, and especially Vance, was still willing to make deals. It's like everything that Osira brought to the table, the entire deal that she brought, the articles that she brought, he was ready to be on board with all of it. It's like all of it made sense. All of it would benefit everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was the lesson that they wanted to put forth was Osira is clearly a villain.
Yes.
But in that moment, she showed that she was also a visionary and that she had ideas beyond her station and beyond the ways that she got to where she was. And we see that a lot in people where it's like, hey, I can do this. Let's do this. Let's make this deal. The shortcoming was the fact when Vance went, sure, this is all great. Let's do it. You can't be the face of it.
Right.
And whoever is the face of this cannot and absolutely should not be affiliated or with you or under your thumb. They have to be completely autonomous, and they have to be able to, arrest you and bring you to trial for all of your crimes.
Right.
And that was the deal breaker, is that she was not willing to put herself on the line after she spent all that time creating what on paper seems like a win-win situation.
Because I and this is where I think that they're shining a light back on real society, is everyone who commits those atrocities thinks that they will still get away with it if they present a better idea.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a positive deflection.
It is, but it's still a deflection. And
Right.
and that's what I appreciated most about Vance, was going, no, it's like, this is the one thing that we have to have. If we're going to do this, you have to stand trial for your crimes. if there's going to be a better world, you have to pay the price for it.
Yeah.
You have to be as good as your people.
Right. We're, to an extent, we're dealing with that shit like right now. There cannot be unity. There cannot be moving forward until those responsible are held accountable.
Yep.
It just can't. Otherwise, we're going to be right back here in another 4 years. To go back to Star Trek, they're going to be right back there. There's going to be some other despot that's going to show up, and like the cycle doesn't end until those
Accountability.
Yeah.
Until there's accountability.
And that's what many of the great analysts of our time right now have been saying. It's like, look, unity and moving forward, those are all great. The step in between that is accountability. It is justice. If you don't have those, nothing.
I've read, or I should say, listened to works on that topic, and a lot of them point to the fact that Nixon was not impeached. And who was that? Carter that went after him, or who preceded him?
Well, technically, it would have been Ford,
but not him. The next one, because Ford stepped in when Nixon quit, right?
Yeah.
And
so then who was the next elected president?
Carter.
Okay. And Carter's the one who said, we don't want to divide the country and just like focus on all this bad shit that happened. So I'm not going to impeach. We're not going to impeach Nixon. We're just going to move on and just let him finish living out the rest of his life with whatever the fuck he does. But I think that, or I should say, the researchers and the writers focus on that moment as the moment where there stopped being accountability for presidential misdeeds.
There are, not to veer off topic too much, but there is an entire there's a podcast series that Rachel Maddow did called The Bagman that deals with the Nixon administration and the impeachment of Nixon. Very specifically, it deals with the not the impeachment, but the bringing charges against Spiro Agnew, who was Nixon's vice president, because it was discovered at the same time that Nixon did everything with Watergate, that Spiro Agnew was actually extorting money from contractors while in office at the White House.
Right.
And so it was like, if we're going to get rid of Nixon, we have to get rid of Agnew before that. Otherwise, we're going to put someone worse in the White House.
And also, I was wrong there. Yeah, Agnew took over. The next president was Ford, and Ford pardoned Nixon.
Yes, Ford pardoned Nixon.
And Agnew didn't. Carter after Ford.
Yeah, Agnew didn't. Agnew was taken out of office.
That's right. Either way, it was Ford.
The Ford did pardon him.
Yeah.
And all of this to say that, like, what they did with Vance's reaction to Minister Osiris' proposal was the opposite of that, was saying, like, as many people, you might mean it really well and this could help a lot of people, but we cannot move forward without your accountability. And and then that's what broke the deal.
And to be honest, it's not that broke the deal. It was the fact that Osira honestly thought she was going to get away with everything.
Yeah, she just like glossed over any of her involvement in war crimes, essentially,
which is what she was hoping. Yeah, she was hoping that's what would happen, and that is what every despot and every tyrant that we ever deal with in this world thinks.
Is that they're immune to consequences.
Yep. And if they do this one good thing, if they pave the way for a good future, then clearly they can't be. Like, I've played out in my head, if I had magical superpowers and could take over the earth and be a dictator, I would. And I would set everything up so that within like a 10 to 15 year timeline, I could be overthrown and destroyed so that everyone could have their planet back. But that means I have to be, it's like I only get X amount of time and it's for the good of the planet. It's for the good of everyone else. If you're going to do that, you have to be able to go, yeah, that means I get killed.
You've mentioned this before, like this exact scenario. But it makes sense.
That's the flaw of every
There-
supervillain, is they don't want to pay those consequences. Except Doom. I think Doom would do it. Maybe.
I don't think so, but that's a whole nother.
That's true.
That is.
Doom's greatest flaw is his vanity and ego, so no, he wouldn't do it.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think what else we can cover. I mean, it was a very, especially that final episode was a very emotional episode. But it all seemed to be dealing with like, trauma. We've got, the Kelpium that Saru meets, who is completely broken, and it's all about trying to fix him. In fact, he's so broken that he caused the burn unintentionally, but
well, no, the cause of the burn just is a biological thing. So he, for all we know, was born there, and so then was sort of biologically fused with all of the radioactive and dilithium matter.
He was, but it was
so that was just a unexpected consequence to an emotional response.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He didn't mean to do it, but since he was biologically linked to that planet, he acts, you can't blame him, but he's going to blame himself now. And Saru's there to help him realize that it was not his fault.
And it provides a great counterpoint to what Osira was not willing to do. Is as soon as Sokal realizes that he caused the burn and that he is the reason that dilithium, like all of these lives were lost when the burn happened, his response was, I want to help fix this.
Yeah. And Saru even tells him, it wasn't your fault. And he says, like, doesn't matter. I still need to help fix it. Which, like Cable said, that's the exact opposite of Osira.
It's perfect. It was a perfect counterpoint.
I'm going to try not to bring my work into this too much, but that character of Sukal as a juxtaposition, Osira is obviously someone who she is a product of the world that that was born and raised in, which is a very winner takes all. Only the cruel can thrive in this environment, whereas Sukal has been alone since he was a young child and was only with people who loved and cared for him. And so once he was alone, he did not develop into someone even remotely close to what Osira is. He's very innocent and good, and and wants to help and wants to be a positive influence to the world around him, even though he is scared of things, and the fear holds him back. But with the right support that everyone from Discovery gives him, he's ready to grow and change and help. And they're just they're two very opposite characters, and I really enjoyed the portrayal of a childlike, adult, innocent person.
Which also I like that. Like I agree that everything that Osira had a transactional upbringing, and Sokal had a nurturing upbringing. The burn was 120 years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
How old do Kelpians live? Or how long do Kelpians live?
They've never really
that too.
They've never really said anything as far as I know. So
yeah.
I didn't think so either. And we figured if nothing else, the radioactive environment probably was, because he's bonded with it, was keeping him alive.
Yeah, he's
longer
been
than
altered.
is normal.
Yeah, Culper even said he's been altered at the genetic level.
Right.
And also, like, by TNG era, a human average is like 150. So it's not that out of the ordinary to think that
That's true.
Yeah.
I think
so
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it on that one. Trying to think of like some other things.
Uh,
Um,
one of my big favorite things was the choice to change the actors in the holographic environment so
that was
that
cool.
specifically so that they could have Doug Jones out of makeup.
I've never seen him on screen without costume.
This makes the third show I've ever seen him in without makeup.
And I think it's the only time he's been on a show without makeup where he's not playing some kind of creep.
Yeah,
Like he's even said, whenever they put me in just without makeup, I'm always some creepy person.
he's a villain in The Flash, and he
Yep.
was kind of a creep in Z Nation. Those are the
Yeah,
only
that's
two
what I was
things
thinking
that
of.
I've seen him outside of makeup. Everything
Oh,
else is,
I didn't remember him being in The Flash.
yep. I think he had laser eyes or something.
Something
Mm.
like that, yeah.
He made it through 2 episodes.
Yeah,
But
and he was great. I mean, Doug Jones is this incredibly caring and empathetic character actor. He does that through all that makeup.
Hmm.
He doesn't have any makeup holding him back. That's a dude you feel like you could just tell him anything. And he's going to listen to every single word you say.
Actively.
Yes. Also, I want to add, I kind of got used to Culper as a Bajoran to where when he was no longer in it, I was like, oh, that's right. He's not Bajoran.
He had a hot Bajoran.
Yeah, he did. It was a good look for him.
oh, I wanted to talk about how Ray got to have a more expanded role in that environment. And
Mhm.
and you know, because of the program, they were able to have a sort of, you know, the theoretically corporeal body that everyone could see, not just Adira,
Mhm.
and how they talked about it, and then how he wasn't ready for that to be over, and you know, and Culper saying, we're gonna make sure that you know that you stay seen, and I thought that to me that felt like a very intentional message for the trans community,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and it was I really enjoyed that, and
Everything that they have done with Adira and Gray and Hugh and Stamets have been very specific and very deliberate,
Yeah.
in all the right ways. I'm getting teary now thinking about it. When Hugh's first reaction was to just touch and hug Gray, it's like, you've
Yeah.
never met this person, but you know who it is, and the first thing you do is give them exactly what they didn't realize they needed,
Yeah.
which was physical contact again.
Hugh knows about Gray third hand.
Mhm.
Hugh is the most removed from Gray in terms of connection,
But
it didn't matter.
and it was in line with everything that we've seen from Hugh this season. Like, the second season was nothing but Hugh putting himself back together,
Yeah.
emotionally and physically and mentally, and becoming the only person on board Discovery that can actually handle the level of PTSD the entire crew is going through.
Right. Because
That
he's
part I
literally.
had not considered.
Mhm.
Oh, he's been so wonderful this season. Like, everything that he talks, the way he talks to every crew member, and gets them to remember the best parts of themselves and put that forward.
And never pushes it. He's always very much like,
Mhm.
I'll be here, or I'll come to you. But
Hmm.
you know, I'm not.
the the other thing that you reminded me of is just Stamets and his relationship to Adira. I mean, I know that they've been getting close all season, but to and I'm sure you can sort of like extrapolate like what we see is only part of that relationship that's been building.
Mhm.
But you know, he gets into this situation where he's trying to, yes, he's trying to kind of prevent something bad being done to him by sort of appealing to this other scientist's more human side. But that doesn't mean that the things he is saying are genuine. They absolutely are.
Mhm.
And that's the first time that you hear him just flat out say, that's my family, that's my child. You would
Yeah.
never know that that was not, the fruit of his own loins. If just to hear him talk.
Yeah,
There was
I
no,
lost it when he said, "That's my child."
yeah, there was no quantifying it. There was, and he wasn't using it as leverage. Like I'm gonna exaggerate my connection with this person so that I can build this connection that's for my own safety. It wasn't that.
Mm-mm.
It was absolutely genuine, and that one I wasn't expecting it. I am embarrassed to say that I was surprised by it, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I think that's because in that moment he surprised himself at revelation. Like I don't think he knew that until he said it aloud, and it's like, oh, that's why I feel this way. That's what this is. I
Yeah.
just
Someone in I think it was Norm in the text just said, "I want there to be a short trek that's just the four of them, like around dinner or something."
So,
Yeah.
And then of
After
course,
season 3, so where they're all, they're not dealing with the fate of the galaxy. It can just be a,
right,
Yep.
like a mid next season or early next season, sort of a fun scene.
Yeah. And in my head, there's a joke where Jet Reno has reprogrammed their meals so that they're getting vegan steak, just so she can be like, ha ha.
Rude. With
replicators, it's all vegan.
I guess that's true.
I guess technically, yeah.
Yeah, all replicated food is vegan. Nothing was killed for it.
I guess that's true.
But is it not technically animal byproduct?
It's grown.
Okay, so
I'm not going down this path.
Did we talk about this last week a little bit on air? I don't remember.
It's not on the show.
Okay, so yes, it is shit for this period of time, but Aaron knows this. When you start out on a starship, you have base matter. It's base food matter. It's just proteins, enzymes, vitamins, and everything. It's just in like a cargo container, and the replicators draw from that to reconstitute it to something else. So it is not animal byproduct at all.
Oh, it's true. If you're breaking it down to its core components,
yep.
That's the same as it was before you ate it.
Yep, it's just matter.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Ruin the joke with science.
I know.
I hope that in season 4, I feel like they're going to have to address it in some way, but I hope a major thread of season 4 is not Stamets being pissed at Michael.
I did notice that there was a moment where it seemed like
his anger is understandable. You would totally get it, especially in that moment. But I almost feel like there's going to be some kind of, scene where Culper notices that Stamets is really short with Michael and says, what's wrong? Stamets is finally going to tell him. And I feel like Culper's attitude is going to be, I would have done the same thing.
That's the most I would want out of that.
That's kind of all I want. Yeah.
I don't think it should not get addressed. Like it shouldn't be a thing, because you could argue, Stamets and Burnham had already had their clashy history, and they're over it, and this shouldn't be a holdup for them. But that's asking a lot of somebody given the circumstances. But I wouldn't want any more than what you described. If it goes on for more than 2 episodes, I'm going to be annoyed.
No, that's what I mean. Like, that's all I want. I want basically for Culper to be like, because Culper's medical, but medical and Starfleet has to make very similar hard decisions that command has to make. And while Stamets has a hard job, his job is rarely going to require you die so they can live.
I'm afraid I think that both of you are going to be annoyed then, because I think this is going to be a half the season issue.
I did now, while you were talking, I did start thinking about, that the way he lashed out right before she ejects him. He's like, we came here for you. All of us are here so that you wouldn't be alone. That's a lot of anger and lashing out, and I get it, but that does that does help lay the groundwork for a prolonged estrangement for those two. You're right.
I would think that would be bad storytelling. It would be building too much out of something that doesn't need to last for.
How do you decide what's too much? He just, he just.
Well, I'm coming at it from a writer. That's how I would decide it's too much.
Family, he went from having nothing and nobody. When Colbert died the first time, he was completely alone. And not only did he miraculously get that back, but also now he has a child, maybe even two, if you want to look at it a certain way. And, they're extremely, extremely important to him. And it's because they've come to the future. There can never be anyone else. There's no other family that can exist for him unless it tracks down some ancestral people, and that's not the same. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Was right.
Michael also wasn't wrong ejecting him.
I don't think that
he can't be mad about it.
Yeah.
No, but I don't need it to spend. I don't want that much story time spent on, just like how I didn't need as much as I love Michelle Yeoh, I didn't need a 2-episode crew episode show as the reason for sending her back.
I want to hear.
I'm coming at it from a pure story outlook. If you have a limited amount of time to tell a story,
I want to hear what Cable has to say.
I think that it is only going to be bad storytelling if it is not furthering I think it's going to take as much time to tell as it takes to tell, depending on what story that they are telling.
Right.
Like that, yes, Michael made the right command decision. That doesn't mean it was the correct moral decision. It doesn't mean it was the correct emotional decision.
It was the Vulcan decision.
And it's still, which I have a hard time with, because she hadn't been, aside from that and the Vulcan nerve pinch, she hasn't been very Vulcan this season.
She's had a lot of growth this season,
but very human.
That doesn't mean that overnight she's completely devoid of Vulcan instincts.
And this still gets back into the trauma that they have been dealing with this season, that Paul has not really been dealing with. He still has had arguments with Detmer. There was that whole thing that started at the beginning of this season where they were angry at each other, and both of them had every rights to be angry at the other because they were not paying attention to what the other was going through. And from Paul's viewpoint, I think that Michael did not consider everything that Paul was going through and what this emotionally does to him. And now not only did you expel him, and you've also replaced him. He's no longer needed.
Well, that's a whole another thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So what does he do?
I don't think that Michael didn't consider the human cost, regarding Paul when she did that. She was crying too. Mm-hmm. She felt bad. She just, in her Michael Burnham way, she's like, I know what the right answer is overall, even though I recognize that this is a shitty decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
And hasn't that sort of been the theme all season, is that she's she does it her way, no matter what other people might think, whether they're her peers or superiors. And then at the very end, she actually got rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm. Which I have theories as to why they went that particular direction.
But that's the thing that every commanding officer is going to have to potentially face one day. Mm-hmm. There's even that, I'm going to go back to a fucking TNG episode where Deanna wants to be able to sit in command, to work the night shift. Mm-hmm. And Riker keeps sending her through the same simulation over and over and over and over and over. And he finally tells her, you're never going to get it. You're never going to make the call that needs to be made. And then Troy, on her own, turns the simulation back on in the middle of the night and goes and does it. And the choice she has to make is to send in Geordi to physically do something knowing it's going to kill him. And the moment she does that, the program ends and Riker's standing there and he's like, that's the choice every commander will face one day. And it sucks. And you have to make it right then.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Here's your command tip.
And I would venture to argue that is not just a tenet of Star Trek or even just sci-fi, but leadership in general, especially in extreme circumstances like astronauts, for example. You have to be able to make quick but educated and logical decisions that sometimes, where you're like juggling lives and having to decide what is the thing that's going to do the most good with the least amount of harm. And sometimes the least amount of harm is one person or, maybe like a dozen people have to be sacrificed.
Yeah, I actually think what Michael did was very much not the original kind of Michael we saw, because that Michael will always find a way to bend the rules to make sure that everyone, all of her friends and family that she loves, comes out okay. And I think that broke her heart because she's like, I can't do this time. I can't keep us all together and keep us all alive.
Mm-hmm.
She
And
did
it wasn't
make
just
that
her
argument
ship.
about how she doesn't believe in no-win situations.
Yeah, because apparently they don't have the Kobayashi Maru yet. Well, in her timeline, her original timeline.
Yeah, they would definitely have it now.
They would have. It was only 10 years before Kirk took
Yeah,
possession of the
that makes sense.
Enterprise.
They probably have.
He was already serving in Starfleet at that point.
That's true. He probably already would have broken it, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, he would have already, if he'd have been a lieutenant 10 years before TNG, he's probably already taken the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's voluntary, you don't have to take it, but you
Yeah.
cannot be cannot be promoted to captain if you do not take the Kobayashi. Captain that commands a ship, because Spock was a captain. But anyway, we're getting into deep nerdery now.
Thanks for nothing, Google. If you look up when was the Kobayashi Maru implemented, the top answer is 1982.
Damn it, it's not wrong.
Not what I was looking for, though. Come on.
That's still hilarious.
All right, well then I'm done looking it up. So.
But the one thing I do agree with is that what does Stamets have to do in the future now? If Booker can do it,
Book and any of his people,
right?
And like I feel like they've created a lot of opportunity for the second season or for the fourth season for stories to be told. Like we are going to get to see a lot more of the bridge crew. If Tilly is still not first officer, I'm going to be pissed.
I'll be pissed if she's still an ensign. Just have her walk on with another pip.
Like
that's all. First officer is fine. I want her to be a lieutenant by now.
She should be a lieutenant. It's definitely fast tracking, but like the entire what you were talking about is like you have to be able to make those command decisions. That was all that she did from the second.
Oh yeah,
Saru put her in that chair. You got to see how she would handle every single one of these command decisions. It's like, nope, you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to stay as first officer because that crew will respect that.
Yeah.
Although I definitely see them maybe playing with that in the next season too, because they put her in the chair and shit hit the fan, and she got a lot of flack from. I mean, granted, the bad guys are the ones who are like, you're the one in the chair. I don't think so. Oh, you're acting. Okay, you're just holding the con. Just a lot of belittling of her on that part. And while I don't see that playing out within the command and like the command questioning her ability because of the way things played out, I can definitely see Tilly holding on to that and struggling with it, regardless of whether or not she gets promoted in the near future.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm kind of with you. I could actually kind of see her being like, I don't think I want this yet. Like I was holding strong during the emergency, but now that I've had to take a breath, I'm freaking the fuck out. And maybe one day, but I don't think I want it right now.
I mean, here's the thing: is like you're never gonna really be ready for leadership. That there's always gonna be difficult decisions that are stressful. You don't know for sure if they're right in the moment, but you have to make a decision, and you just fucking do your best. You roll the dice and hope everyone comes out fine at the other end.
And you literally just replied the way I think Michael would reply to her when she says, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Yes.
Absolutely. Michael would be honest and be like, that's what it be like. You want to be a leader ever, it's always going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I never fucking realized it's not actually called the Spore Drive. It's called the Dash Drive.
What?
Displacement Activated Spore Hub.
Oh.
They nickname it the Spore Drive. It's actually called the Dash Drive.
Oh, because the Dash Drive sounds lame.
I'm just saying, I just realized, like, Thomas posted, I'm like, Dash, what the hell is that? And I looked up Dash Drive, Star Trek. It went right to the page. It's like, yeah, Displacement Activated Spore Hub Drive.
Oh, that's perfect, though. You should share the comment.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Anyway, that's some nerd stuff there.
Yep.
Speaking of nerd stuff, I dig they're in the same uniforms.
I think it took the entire season for me to get used to the Federation uniforms for me, so that when they put them in the disco crew in them, I was like, yep, good.
Yeah.
Good.
That's funny though, right? Because when they revealed the uniforms for Discovery, those were completely different from anything that had ever been made canon before. And I don't remember any of us being like, whoa, that's too different and weird. Everyone, we all were into it. But
they weirded me out. They were way too shiny for me. I was like,
you're being really jazzed about them. But regardless, like I'm with Cable. It's if not for the fact that I've been seeing those gray uniforms this whole season, I would have been a little bit more alarmed when all of a sudden the Discovery crew was wearing them.
For me, I think it's because we are trained as old school Trekkies that with every new show, there's a new uniform.
Yeah.
Every time there's a new show, it's a new uniform. Like,
sure,
Deep Space Nine had different uniforms than TNG, and then by the time that Voyager went on the air, Deep Space Nine flipped their uniforms, so they were different.
Yeah,
because they were modeled after the movie TNG movie uniforms.
Yeah, I remember when the TNG first debuted, they actually said like, no, these are the uniforms you have to wear if you serve on a space station. I'm like, really? Just admit that the fucking costuming department wanted to make new uniforms. But I like these because they kind of give me like an homage vibe to the motion picture uniforms, but with more color. That's kind of cool.
It is nice to have this. Like, I get the whole design concept behind the gold, the silver, and the bronze for Discovery's crew, but it's nice to have the red, yellow, blue, and back again. Yeah. I just prefer those primary colors being part of Star Trek.
And they kind of hinted that the Discovery era uniforms were being phased out because Pike even mentions like, at least we get the snazzy new uniforms. So.
I mean, I'm almost surprised they didn't do it sooner, but I think that they wanted to like keep a tie-in with the whole situation at the beginning of the season where they wanted to split up the crew and put a new crew on the Discovery. And so if you keep the crew, it was kind of a nice wrapping to keep them in the same uniform, but the change was definitely inevitable.
Right.
So Norm is saying he likes the uniforms, but the jackets are asymmetrical and that really bugs him.
Oh, I love it. I love an asymmetrical uniform.
Yeah, really Cable and I are on the same page on that one.
Yep. I'm not a big fan of symmetry in uniforms. I like asymmetry. I don't know why, but I just do.
I think it looks cool.
I always
especially that
enjoy
weird
a
like
bit
that
of
half
asymmetry.
collar thing they do. It's like yeah. Oh, it's sharp.
I think that's what I like about the TNG uniforms over the Voyager Deep Space Nine uniforms is there's still asymmetry in that pattern.
Right. Oh my God. Talk about the final little bit of waterworks when Michael at the end meets the guy, the first member of Starfleet she met at the first episode.
That was a
And
perfect end cap.
It was such a good end cap.
Mhm.
And I also noticed that if you saw the scene side by side, when he shakes her hand at the end, he's got both of his hands over hers, saying, welcome to Federate Start. You know, he's doing that. The shot at the end, she's got both of her hands on his and says, thank you for keeping the faith. Like it's a perfect visual bookend to how they did it.
Well, I guess this was part 2 of the first episode.
Yeah,
'Cause
it
they're
was.
the same title, parts
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Right. The hope that is you.
Mm-hmm. I think my little side takeaway from all 3 of those episodes is that do not fuck with Joanne Oosakun. She is a major badass.
No kidding. She's
Like-
got a killer aim with the ship. She's a great navigator. Also, she can hold her breath for like 5 minutes.
8.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that she's the navigator. I think she's the operations officer.
Well, Detmer's helm.
Detmer's the pilot, yes.
Helm, yeah.
But and normally, yes, that would be where the navigator station is, except in TNG where it's the
Just
helmsman
off.
sits. Yeah, like where data sat. That was the ops station.
Right. And Wesley was helm, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Or whoever was helm.
So I'm wondering if that's actually Owosakun's actual position is operations.
I think she's also running some of the tactical, like the weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's his name is communications.
Yep.
And then the other guy,
Bryce is communications. Reese is security.
right. But I don't
And
think he
tactics.
actually does. So does he do the firing? I don't remember.
He doesn't, but he does. Like he does weapons management.
Right. He does. Shields are at here. Casualty reports coming in.
No, that's been Owosakun.
Okay.
She's the one that will shout out, shields are at this, weapons are at this, life supports at this. I think she's operations, which makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's because that's what Data did. That's what Harry Kim was. And to a large degree, even though she's just the communications officer, that's what Uhura did.
Yeah.
Uhura was the Enterprise's operations officer. Shit fell apart if she was not paying attention.
Right. Yeah. Because Chekhov was navigator and technically fired torpedoes, and Sulu was phasers and helm,
Mm-hmm.
which is always a weird, I don't know. It seems like a weird thing to me. Just from a tactical side. That's all.
Mhm.
She is, in fact, operations officer.
Thank you.
Oh, cool.
That
There's a
makes
lot of
sense.
work to be ops.
Oh yeah, it takes someone who has their shit together, and yeah,
It's from a family of Luddites.
who did pearl diving.
Sure.
She fascinates me. She absolutely fascinates me as a character. She's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I was really worried they were going to kill her off.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit. It didn't feel like that they were going to, but I was a little worried.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that I have theory about Doug Jones.
Mhm.
There's a still photo that I saw last week and a half ago, from The Mandalorian. And it was behind the scenes. You've seen this.
I talked about this too on Twitter.
Yep. So that it's a bust in the makeup department. And it's like, guys, we're going to start working on this to build this new, to build an alien race on. And you look at the bust and like, that's Doug Jones.
Yeah.
That is Doug Jones's head.
Yeah. When I commented, I had like 5 people thinking, okay, it wasn't just me in my head. That looked like Doug Jones to me
Yeah.
too. I'm like, yep.
I'm trying to
So
find it now.
And like we're all basically theorizing, oh, Doug Jones is going to have a guest spot on Mandalorian next year. And then the end of Discovery this season is like, well, he's going back to Kamenon. It's like, oh. And Merrick looked at me and went, well, that means Doug Jones is guest starring in more than one episode of The Mandalorian next year. I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's probably exactly what that means. Like for Discovery, I'm hoping it means that when they bring Saru back, he's
hold on, I'm gonna do a
Commodore Saru or Ambassador Saru.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a screen share. I found it on the Reddit thread.
Yeah, they said he's
that's Doug
went
Jones.
away.
That is 100% Doug Jones.
The only other thing I thought it could also be is that he's done so many makeup sittings that if you can't do a cast of every single face cast of every single background actor, even if they're in a makeup and a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've been told by special effects people, as a rule, you want pretty skinny profiles that you can then build on. So it also could be that he's done sittings for all these places and just lets them use a bust of him to build generic. All right, now we can put this on someone's head and mold it to fit their head better because he's got that profile.
Sure.
Doug Jones is the universal prosthetics model.
I mean, that actually would not surprise me if that was true.
If Andy Serkis can be, the number one guy for motion capture.
Yeah.
Why not?
Fair. I'm still going to go with my theory that he's going to show up in Mandalorian, and he's splitting his time between Star Wars and Star Trek.
I mean, that's the preference. Maybe. For sure.
Yep.
Oh, so on this Reddit thread, some more. So the person you see on with the caption there, Brian Sipe, he has apparently worked with Doug Jones many, many times. So it's also logical that he actually has a bust of Doug Jones, and they just build off that.
Sure.
Either way, you know what? If it means more Doug Jones in two of my favorite spacey shows, 2 out of 3 of my favorite space shows, then I'm not going to complain.
Oh, they said that's from season 2 behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, the gallery from season 2. Disney Gallery. Yeah. Yeah.
But these people work on stuff in advance.
True.
Yeah, I mean, they're filming season 4 of Discovery right now.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Well, because even he mentioned it when we had him on.
Oh, yeah.
Noah,
yeah.
I want to publicly say this, and did I say this before, that I want to see him come back next year?
I think we said it on a private chat, but yeah.
I would like to see him come back. Like, I know Rin is dead, but they clearly using they're reusing actors,
right?
Like the Kenneth Mitchell, the guy in the Osiris scientist in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was also Cole from House of Kor in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Klingons. He's one of the major Klingons.
Oh,
he's also developed ALS. Which is, so they want to keep using him as an actor in the show, which is why they're like, okay, now we're going to create this character who's in a chair so that you can be on the show.
Well, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That almost made me cry too when he showed up on screen. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh no. So
yeah.
I'm still holding out hope that we'll get to see Noah A.K. sometime in season 4 as another human character, another alien character. I'd still love to see Mary Weissman show up somewhere as not her Klingon character, but something else.
Mary Weissman had a Klingon character?
Oh, not Mary Weissman. I'm sorry.
You're thinking of
Chifo. Mary Chifo. I was confusing my Marys.
Although I actually think we're going to get more of her in Strange New Worlds.
I do too.
Yeah. Because the comic that they did, the comic sequel to season 2 of Discovery, and all those IW comics are connected to Discovery are actually ran past the writer's room of the various Star Trek shows. And in that one, Chancellor Rel and Pike basically keep up clandestine communications with each other to try to prevent another Federation Klingon war. It will clearly not work, but at least they try.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see her again.
That'll be great because Mary Chieffo is a gem.
Yeah. Shall she get to wrapping up here?
Oh yes. Sorry.
We're going on for a while. Trek talks. What do we have going on next week? Do we have anything? We're gonna have Greg and Ida towards the end of the month,
Right.
as always.
To my knowledge, we don't have anything else planned.
Okay.
Me either. I don't think so. We'll come up with something.
We have to have something to do because there's not any Star Trek. There's no more Mandalorian. I don't want to talk about The Expanse because Cable doesn't. Even if he does watch it, he's nowhere near caught up. So even if you were to start
I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, you would not catch up.
I'm just now on season 2 of Westworld. So.
Well, we'll come up with all new fun things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, what else can we do?
Well, that's something we can probably talk off of the air.
Yep.
Big thanks to Carolyn. She was awesome. I'm definitely going to reach out to her.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite humans.
Yay!
It's
You don't
pretty
have
great.
many of those.
If I stop to think about it, I have more than I think.
More than you originally had planned.
Yes, more than I would expect.
Well, on that, I'm Aaron Duran.
I'm being Rita.
And I'm Cable Hashitani.
And we will talk to everybody next week. Watch out for snakes.
I'm huge.
So,
shit, we didn't. You know
big
what?
deal.
We'll talk about that next week.
What?
So what? Big deal. The news I sent you.
Ah,
You know what? Let's give Cable time to research more about it.
okay, yeah, we'll cover it next week.
And don't be an asshole. Bye, everybody.
Bye.